there are beautiful places out immediately outside of the city center that are like a 30-minute drive
Hmm.
where you could get an amazing house, a family house for 100,000.
Okay.
You could, and it would be a new built house.
All right. So today we're heading down to the beautiful country of Argentina with my new friend Joe.Dry. Joe, pleasure to meet you.
What's up, man? It's a pleasure.
All right. Well, let's start by you kind of explaining a little bit about your journey, where you're from, how you ended up in Argentina, and where you live in Argentina, how you selected the town.
Well, okay, to sum it up, I'm from Texas, from Dallas, Texas. I grew up kind of half country, half city, and many things happen in our lives. But for me, what happened was I ended up stagnant. I ended up suffering from depression, anxiety, and I ended up obese. And I don't want to go into too many details, but I realized that the only way I'm going to really reclaim my life and change things is going to be to exit the environment that I had created or I lived in. I was in a toxic environment that it was almost like um, living in an all-inclusive resort that just serves up failure, you know?
Hmm.
And so,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, and believe it or not, I actually tried to join the military at 35 and 37 now. And I lost like 60 pounds in a few months. And I worked with the Navy officer recruiter, but they didn't like that I had a previous history of a history of depression, and that
Hmm.
I have a spinal fusion. So, but
Okay.
I tried, man. But I was losing that weight, and I changed a lot of things around. And I realized that by altering and exiting some environments, leaving some toxic things behind, and um, that I need to keep this going. Like there's something here that's totally missing, and I might be onto something for myself. And I already known about Mendoza because in 2016 I worked I worked for 10 years in the construction industry and in the crane industry. And the owner of the company had asked, like, hey, you don't have kids, you're not married. How about you go become fluent in Spanish in a few months and come back? Because it would be amazing if you could do that. And I thought, well, hell, okay, like I can do that. And I did. And I
Hmm.
found a school that was based out of Buenos Aires and they had a location in Mendoza. And I was like, okay, that could work. I don't know anything about South America,
Hmm.
especially Argentina. But Mendoza seemed like this place that kind of reminded me of my town. I'm from Frisco, Texas.
Okay.
And it's big now, but at the time in the 90s, it was like 3,000, 5,000, 8,000 population. It was kind of a small place.
Yeah.
Just kind of had that feel, Um, and I was sold on their language program. Like I'd seen tons of videos and students really the before and after how they were speaking Spanish. I thought, oh hell
Hmm.
yeah, this is what I need, full immersion in a place that's not full of American or English speaking tourists.
Yeah.
Like I want to go full immersion on this. I don't want
Okay.
to hang out with anybody from our country. Because I knew the goal, the task was okay. You need to become damn near bilingual before you come back.
Yeah.
So okay, so I did it for 6 months, and I came back later in 2016. More just crappy. You know how life just can really throw some wrenches into things and and
Hmm.
and and punch you right in the freaking gut. That was kind of the next few years for me, and again, that's when I decided to change and join the military, and they said no. And that's when I remembered about Mendoza. I'm like, well, how about I just do a 180? I can quit my career. I can go back to Mendoza and reconnect, and just explore, rediscover, and do so in a place that's more affordable. I
Hmm.
was stuck in the rent race. I was taking care of a family member for a few years. So I was unable to really save up and purchase a house. And the cost of living became too tough for me. So I made it. I had a great salary. I was busting ass at my job, but I could never save up to get anything done to
Hmm.
like to move up in life or to move forward in my life rather,
Hmm.
because I was taking care of a family member. So, um, so that was it, man. I came to Mendoza, and just the amount of growth. The exact same thing happened that I remember happening in 2016. You just there's a whole new world out there. And the cool thing about it, it's not so much that it's this external world, but it's a world that's inside of you that you realize exists. There's so much more that I found inside me, that like from desires and like maybe my purpose in life or passions that I didn't really understand, because there's so much back home that ends up buried over like
Hmm.
the real you that's just like screaming, just hoping to be released. And anyway, not to get too deep into that, I just that's why I came to Mendoza, man. Like I needed to rediscover, I needed to reconnect, and I know the best way to do that is to immerse yourself in other cultures,
Hmm.
gain different perspectives on life. Also, it just helps you be ultra creative. You kind of, once you are stuck in your own little bubble for too long, you lose a sense of yourself. You lose a sense of um, connection and community, and therefore you lose your spark. You lose your creativity. You kind of
Hmm.
live a life on repeat,
Yeah.
especially in our culture, especially in America. It's just designed to create a life that's just on repeat, where
Yeah.
we excel at that. And I love our culture. I love my country more than anything on earth. But that's just kind of the fact of the matter for a lot of people. They kind of feel like
Mhm.
they're just living in this hamster wheel. So sorry for the long answer, but I just felt like it deserved some detail. I just didn't want to just spat out. I love Mendoza, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So, but
It's that's great. Well, good for you, man, because you found a way to break out of that system. Thinking about moving abroad? Adventure Freaks is packed with resources to help you every step of the way. Want immigration support? We connect you with experts who understand the process inside and out, giving you the most up-to-date, reliable information. No more sifting through outdated websites or confusing embassy pages. You can click on the country you're interested in and scroll down and see our helpful links here. Here's immigration and visas, which will connect you with an immigration lawyer in that country. Curious about life abroad? Talk to expats who've already made the move, all of which we've done podcasts with on our YouTube channel. Whether it's day-to-day living or navigating local bureaucracy, they've been there and can share their firsthand experience. You can also book a one-on-one consultation with me. I've spoken with hundreds of expats and professionals around the world, and I'm here to help you navigate the process and find the right destination for you. Not sure where to go? Our Ideal Destination Finder can help. Answer 20 simple questions and discover the top 3 countries that match your lifestyle and priorities, all based on your answers. Plus, you can dive into our helpful articles covering everything from finding housing to understanding healthcare abroad. AdventureFreaks.com makes it easy to get the answers you need straight from the source. If you're ready to start your journey, we're here to help. That's what I really enjoy about this podcast is I get to meet a lot of people like you that have just literally broken out of those systems and create some level of freedom for themselves in other places. But my next question is, okay, so you chose Mendoza because you immersed yourself in a Spanish speaking program down there.
yeah.
Argentina offers a lot of interesting places. Like Cordoba is
Hmm.
gorgeous. It's a really unique and beautiful part of Argentina. Then you have Buenos Aires, which is the New York City of South America. When you think about it that
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
it's just a
That's
great
exactly how I'd
big.
put it.
And then you have, I've heard Salta is a really popular or becoming a more
And up,
popular spot. Have you been to those areas of Argentina, and what are your thoughts on those places?
so I've never been to Salta, but I've been to Cordoba and Buenos Aires.
Okay.
Forgive me. I lived in Buenos Aires for 2 months. Cordoba, I actually had an ultra marathon race there.
Mm.
I have friends. I have friends that are from Cordoba, and so I pretty much like most of my friends here. By the way, are locals. So I mean, I do like there's a Spanglish group that where people from around the world come, and kind of it's like an exchange of languages and stuff.
Hmm.
And of course, there are people from back home that are in this group. but for the most part, I'm just hanging out with local people, man.
Hmm.
So Cordoba, like, it is an amazing place, exceptional beauty.
Yes.
But aside from, I think it's easy to just look at the nature and the beauty of the place. But for me, I love to look at the culture and the personalities of people. Much like America, people are different from the Northeast, from the South, from the West. Like
Yes.
they're all different.
Yep.
In this case, Cordoba to me is like they're very friendly. They're very open minded and welcoming. They're like no one's a stranger, you know.
Hmm.
Whereas Mendoza, they're extremely friendly people, but they can be closed off about things.
Uh-huh.
You know, you're not just going to have people going, "Hey, man, can I ever come? You should come to this asada with us." And though it may happen, it's not as common as it would be in Cordoba. They're much more just everybody's your friend. There's it's a welcoming, um, it's a much more like arms open kind of culture, you know.
Hmm.
And but yeah, going back to the beauty of it, it's just an incredibly beautiful place. It's got everything you could possibly imagine. Lakes, rolling hills,
This is
everything. I love
Cordoba.
it. This is Cordoba. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is Cordoba. It
Yeah.
just has everything. It's just an incredible place. Um, and then Buenos Aires, like you said, I think it's a perfect way to put it. It's like a New York City. It's just got tons of the most just beautiful architecture. It's it's a place that really never sleeps, sort of. I mean, there's just a
Hmm.
lot more action than in any other cities, obviously.
Sure.
But that's what it is. It's a massive city with a crap load of people all intertwined. It's
Yes.
fast paced. So, like you said, Argentina has a little bit of everything for everybody. I don't know Salta. I have friends from there, but I don't feel comfortable talking much about it. I have
Yeah.
no pictures and videos, but I feel comfortable talking about Mendoza, Cordoba, and Buenos Aires. I'm sorry, because I have lived there and I know a lot about those places. So, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great info. I love the
yeah,
descriptions of those cities that you
yeah.
gave. Yeah, I've seen the imagery of Cordoba. It's just it's beautiful. But so is Mendoza, where
Oh,
you.
yeah.
No,
If you don't, okay, go ahead.
yeah, my question about is that the Spanish school that you immersed yourself in? Are they still there?
The location here no longer exists.
Okay,
I'm not sure that their headquarters was Buenos Aires.
I see.
Now, that might still be the case. I'm not sure, but the name of the school was Esela, and that's Ecela.
Okay,
Esela.
Is Isela, we'll plug them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because I
I
love.
don't know if they're still around, but if they
Yeah,
are, it was the best. It was the way they taught the language was the most effective experience ever. Like in 6 months, I returned fluent without a
yeah.
doubt. You know,
How
I
much
mean,
did
it's
that
incredible.
cost you to do that?
For 6 months, I paid around 6,000.
Okay, so you really spent a lot of money to fully, completely immerse yourself into this
It
world.
was private. It was private and group classes nonstop. It's almost every day you're in it. Then
Yeah.
when you're not taking classes, you're living in the community and the culture.
Yes.
But I thought 6,000 for 6 months was pretty freaking reasonable.
Yeah.
And um, you're and because I became fluent, man. Like so,
Yeah.
it paid for itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shit. So,
Okay.
I don't know if you want me to talk about Mendoza a little bit. I felt like I was giving Cordoba tons of love. I live in Mendoza for a reason,
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us
you
about
know.
Mendoza and
Like,
your thoughts on that.
well, you can wake up. So the apartment buildings and houses and some of the landscape um, will provide a view that depending on where it's located and where it's facing, you have the opportunity to have a view of the foothills of the Andes
Hmm.
every day. And the different times of the day kind of paints a backdrop. There's different foothills that have different heights. So
Hmm.
in the morning, you'll see that like these certain foothills, and then the evening you'll see like some taller ones, and then you'll see snow-capped mountains far in the distance. So it's an incredible view. And there's a lot of apartments that have balconies that face that direction. So imagine just waking up at like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, and you're drinking a coffee, reading the paper, whatever your routine is, but you had that beautiful view. And um, like I said, the people here are incredibly friendly.
Hmm.
They may not be like all they just the most outgoing in your face, like love and welcoming, but they're incredibly friendly.
Hmm.
So they love to help you with if you ask for directions, if you're unsure of something, they will always give you recommendations. And they will always tell you that their doctor, the restaurant, they're like is the best, and
Hmm.
but it's always with the best intention, man. So it's a beautiful place. It's like it's a million, maybe a little more population, but it
Yes.
still has kind of like a small town feel. And
Hmm.
so anyway, it's just I love it here. I've it's from here I have access to other um, cities and other countries, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But that's those are some of the reasons why I really resonated more with Mendoza.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested actually now, like learning about how close are you because Mendoza doesn't have any beaches. You're in the in between Argentina and
Yeah,
close
there's
to the
not much, man.
Chilean border. How long does it take you to get to a beach from where you're at? Do you have to fly?
You don't have to fly. Obviously, it's going to be a hell of a lot faster. But I have, I know. Well, yeah, you're like, no shit. But sorry for that. But um, I I have friends, and I actually had a truck for several months, but I had to sell it for an emergency. But you can get to like from here, just to going from here to Santiago,
Hmm.
Chile. That's like a 6 hour drive on average.
Okay.
And now, if you look at it on a map, it's a lot closer. The reason why it's 6 hours is because you have a very windy route through the mountains.
Oh,
Therefore,
okay.
that's why it's 6 hours. Otherwise, it would be
Yeah.
far less. Um, but from Santiago, you're going to get to a beach in a couple hours.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
it's a day drive to the nearest beach if you would go that route. If you go east, it's a little further. I mean,
Hmm.
it's 12 plus hours to go to the coastline of Argentina, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to also keep in mind that if you do go west, that's the Pacific Ocean, and not many people go into the waters because they're cold, man. They're not as
Yeah.
pleasant, you know. So those are things to keep in mind. But um, yeah, I mean you got to consider this is kind of like a desert. There's palm trees and different types of trees. They're not all native, but they
Yeah.
still work here. They thrive here, and it's a beautiful city that's kind of it's an arid climate as well. So you might fancy that. I mean, there's no humidity here, which
Yeah.
I love. I don't like humidity, man. So
Yeah. 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 Joe, have you seen an uptick in people moving there?
over the past year, I would say 1,000%. It's slowed
Wow.
down. It's
Okay.
slowed down because the it's no secret that the money market here is very volatile,
Yes.
and there's the blue dollar, and there's different currencies, and they're kind of catching up to the dollar, and so the value is not as strong. The value that you might get otherwise, it's not as good as it once was.
Yeah.
While inflation continues to rise, so you know, I think that's kind of slowed down because most of the people moving were sort of digital nomads looking for more of like a home base. So
Hmm.
it wasn't necessarily expats or retirees.
Okay.
That makes up the majority. I will say that there was an uptick in that, but the majority were digital nomads looking for more of a permanent location that they
Hmm.
can then call home base that they then travel from.
Yeah.
But I know several expats, mostly here in Mendoza, because they enter the groups and they're asking for advice, have been from Europe.
Okay.
So I
What
hope
part
I
of
don't think.
Europe are they coming from?
I'm seeing people from a lot of Eastern Europe and Northern Europe.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah,
Yeah, interesting. Okay. All right. Well,
I'm
let's
saying I'm saying the most. I might, someone might say,
sure.
well, I'm not from there. I'm like, well, I'm talking about the majority.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm interested because it seems, like Mendoza's a city that's off the beaten path. You're a
Mhm.
long ways away. I mean, I think it's actually longer, it takes longer to fly down there than it does to France or Rome from the US if you're on the East Coast. So it's a
Oh, okay.
long
Yeah.
it's a long long flight and it's a long distance to get down there. And I think that's why a lot of people prefer places like Colombia and Ecuador and more
It's
the
a lot
northern,
closer,
a lot
you know.
closer and easy access back to the United States or Canada. So it's a big trek. I mean, Argentina's down there all alone, man. It's like yes, you picked the place
You're
where
down
it's
there, man.
but it's gorgeous. It is a beautiful place. So
Yeah.
let's share what can you share about visa requirements and obtaining a visa to live or move to Argentina?
It can be it depending on who you talk to, it can be relatively straightforward or incredibly complicated. So I'm still on a tourist visa, but not for lack of trying to get a permanent residency or a more permanent visa. There's several. I'm not an expert on all of them, but what happened was, just to kind of give some backstory here, that the first thing you need if you're going to do anything more permanent than a tourist visa, and I'll get into that by the way, is you have to get an authenticated background check. So you have to get a background check from the FBI from
Yep.
America,
Yep.
but then you have to get that separately authenticated in a manner that is accepted by the Argentinian government, and
Mm.
that's a process.
Okay.
So it's not the most difficult thing in the world, but there's some steps and some time needed. And so I got my background check several months ago, and I had sent it off to get authenticated, but there was an issue with the mail, and it didn't. It's a long story. For the tourist visa, you yes, there are people who just stay and they just either cross the border into Chile and they come back and they get another 90 days,
Yes.
or they go to the immigration's office and ask for an extension and pay like a small fee. Um, some people have said that it's around $40. That might change. It might be different. I don't know, but let's
Hmm.
just say it's that.
Okay.
I don't think it's wise for expats, for people who are looking to retire down here or fully relocate, to just rely on that,
Okay.
because even though you're not breaking the law, it's still it's like you don't want to just live in perpetuity on a tourist visa.
Yeah.
You need to kind of start really establishing, because things might change, laws might change, and I have experienced times where they're like, "Hey, man, you've been here for a whole year. Like, are you? It doesn't seem like you're traveling. It seems like you're living here, And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
begin to ask questions, and so so yeah, I mean, you can do it, and it's done. A lot of people do it. I'm doing it right now, technically, but I'm at least in the process, and they know that, on getting my background check authenticated.
Okay.
I'm explained to them what happened, how I got lost in the mail, and I'm starting over. And I actually have an Argentinian girlfriend here that I met several months ago on a complete, just totally random. And so we're doing a visa. There's another one called convivencia, and that's like it's kind of co-living or living with somebody, where you prove that y'all share. You can be you're a foreigner, but if you're
Hmm.
living with that person, you're sharing the costs and the rent and those things, then you can get a visa just for that,
Hmm.
and it's a permanent. It's basically a permanent residency, or leads to that at least. So
Okay.
there's a lot of ways to do it. Um, there's different visas. You have there's a work visa, student visa. Some people will go to college here just because they can get a DNI, which is like the creme de la creme here. If you have a DNI, you're set. You can do anything you want. Everything's a
Hmm.
lot easier.
What is a DNI?
DNI is like it's a national identity number.
Okay.
Basically, it's not like a social security number. That's not social security, but it's just a number that's like your identity here. Um, but it opens up the door for you to. It's much easier to open up bank accounts. I mean,
I
everything
see.
is easier if you have DNI. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can kind of say like it's a mixture. It's like well, yeah, it's just that. It's just an identity. It's your residency, your Argentinian number, basically. So to get that DNI though, it takes time. You can be a student and obtain the DNI that way. You can marry somebody. You can do the co-living type visa that I'm talking about, which will lead to getting a DNI, or
Hmm.
you can work for a company here,
Okay.
and that's a way to get you can get a work visa by working for a company here.
Hmm.
Even if you just work part-time or something. I believe it's still possible. There's a lot of other sub rules and regulations and things needed, like you need to meet a certain income amount, and but those are things that are pretty easily Googleable.
Yeah.
Googleable anyway. If,
Google. Yeah, that's a hard one.
yeah,
Googleable.
Googleable. I don't know. So I just don't like, I don't want to start throwing out numbers and then I might be wrong, but more so just talking about the fundamental principle, like of how the visas work, I think might give your audience like enough info that make more
Yeah.
sense, because a lot of people just throw out numbers, but I kind of like to go deep into the visas and explain them. I think that's more helpful because anybody can just Google and find out, okay, you need $2,000, you need this. So
Right.
anyway,
Right. Okay. All right. Well, great info. Well, let's dive into let's look at rentals. So everybody that
yeah.
moves there, they need a rental. What are the going rates starting at for rentals in your region in Mendoza?
Okay. So here in Mendoza, the rentals now, because over the past year, they have skyrocketed.
Hmm.
Um, I would say the apartment that I live in now is about 650 square feet,
Okay.
and I'm paying 460 a month. But the key is to know what part of town, right? Obviously, that matters. So, um, there's different what they call departamentos, which are just suburbs of the city. The one I live in is called Godoy Cruz.
Hmm.
So Godoy Cruz.
Okay.
And then within that, there are areas that are going to cost more, cost less, of course, just like any city in the world.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to be in the center, it could cost a lot. It just depends. But I'm gonna say that just an average, like a quality, decent, good apartment, like a one bedroom, you're going to be around 450 to 500 right now for that.
Okay.
Whereas a year ago, it would have been probably three. I had an apartment
Well,
in
what
a
is
part
the
of
reason?
town.
What
Sorry.
is the reason for that spike? That's a significant spike in a year.
So the dollar to the peso is not as strong for people who have the dollar, while inflation kept growing. So two things that worked against the American dollar or the people spending dollars here. So the cost of rent just keeps going up.
What is that doing for the Argentine people? Because their salaries aren't going up, right?
They're not going up. It's becoming more and more difficult.
Hmm.
It's extremely difficult. So the thinking is, well, eventually there's not going to be as high a demand,
Hmm.
and that might affect the market. But the issue is the economy is just so unstable. You can't tackle this the way you would tackle real estate and rental properties in our country, because there's too many. It's just like there's too many factors going on.
Yeah.
You can get a good sense, and you could poll people, and everybody would have different opinions on what's going on.
Yes.
But the fact remains, they are they are increasing now. I believe that eventually it'll steady off, because renters are going to they're going to realize, like, dude, we're not getting anybody in our buildings because no one can
Yeah.
freaking afford it.
Are you
Um,
seeing that in Mendoza where there's a decline in occupancy there?
I all I can tell you is I know there are more and more locals that are saying, screw this, I'm not going to renew the lease.
Yeah.
I can't
Interesting.
do it, or I'm going to live with my friends, or I'm going to go back. What was happening about a year ago was there was a massive influx in foreigners coming here,
Hmm.
staying a month or two at a time. And I think a lot of people realized that, and they thought, okay, I'm going to start putting this. They had houses, or maybe they had apartment buildings that they were renting out to other Argentinians, where they realized, like, let's turn this into an Airbnb. So Airbnb went crazy,
Yes.
and Brazilians were coming over here, and it just skyrocketed. That everybody was coming here to take advantage, or to really, or just enjoy the difference between the dollar and the peso. You could get so much for a dollar.
Yeah.
But now that's kind of diminishing a little bit. Obviously, regardless of the fact that some things do cost more here, like some tech items, appliances, and vehicles,
Yeah.
the cost of living is still far cheaper.
Yeah.
Food has even gotten so much higher that some of the food here costs more than what it would cost back home, which is insane to think about because a year ago it was nothing like that.
Hmm.
But overall, the cost of living is still far, far less.
So for the people that are watching this, they're going, okay, so can be somewhat volatile. That might make people more interested in purchasing a property. Do you know what the real estate costs are around Mendoza and what they're going for?
Yeah. So again, it depends on the location. So you could one place the house might be $100,000. That same exact house in another place might be 300.
I see.
But but there are beautiful places out immediately outside of the city center that are like a 30-minute drive
Hmm.
where you could get an amazing house, a family house for 100,000.
Okay.
You could, and it would be a new built house.
Okay.
Um, you know, I would say still, um, this is exactly what I would have said a year ago is for the, I have to put this carefully, but I want to say like for a nice family home that is pretty and well made and most likely new or newer, in a great neighborhood, great area, I think you could do around 200,000.
Do you know what, like, if you wanted to buy an apartment in Mendoza, what those go for? If you just want to live,
Mm-hmm.
within the city where you can just walk everywhere and don't have to
Yeah.
worry about cars or public
Yeah.
transportation.
I can give you the perfect example. Perfect example. Like this was my experience. So I lived in an amazing part of town called La Quinta. So that's the fifth section.
Hmm.
It's right by the biggest park in town. It's in the center of town. It's a beautiful place. And it was a big building that had like 16 floors. On the top floor was a pool that had the view of the whole city and the mountains.
Mm.
It was incredible. And I was paying, this was a year ago. I was paying $600 a month rent there. And it was a two-bedroom, three-bathroom. The balcony wrapped all the way around. I mean, it's just
Wow.
incredible. It was
Wow.
unbelievable. That would cost 3,000 in Dallas. Like
Sure.
it was
Yeah.
insane. So while I worked a deal with the owner, she said, I'm looking to sell this place. If you're interested in buying it, let me know. And she said, I was like, well, how much? I don't have the money saved up, but I was curious. She's like, I'm thinking I can get around 200,000 for this place. I'm thinking, oh my God, like that's a lot of money, but that would be an incredible if someone bought that. That's just unbelievable. So because you get 24/7 security, it's just incredible. So,
Hmm.
um, and I said, I can't buy it, but would you let me renew my lease? She's like, you know what? As long as you keep renewing your lease, because you're going to be the last person that rents here because after you, I'm selling it.
Hmm.
But if you continue renewing your lease, like I'm in no hurry to sell it. It's okay. Well, eventually I was kind of done. I needed to move on and do something else. And she said, okay, I'm going to sell it. Is it okay if somebody walks in? Is it okay if a realtor shows up a couple of times? She sold it within 5 days
Wow.
for like 210, I think.
Okay.
Um, yeah. And it was a guy from like Panama City, I think.
Oh,
Um, yeah.
interesting.
But I think like a beautiful place anywhere. I mean, a beautiful place and a beautiful location, that's going to be a hell of a lot easier to maintain and easier to put up with than owning a house.
Hmm.
I would still say like probably 75,000 to 230. That gives you a range of like kind of a minimum average to
Yeah.
kick ass like baller
Right.
level.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah.
great.
So,
That's great, man. Well,
yeah.
hey, let's dive in now to some of the costs of living per month. So we'll break down these costs
Yeah.
like utilities, groceries, restaurants. So let's start off with utilities. What do you think people pay per month for on utilities there?
My average summer payment at this apartment is around $60.
Okay.
That's for sorry, that's my electricity.
Okay.
Um, and that's using air conditioning. I use the air conditioning quite frequently.
Okay.
So in the winter time, my electricity bill's been like $20.
What about water, gas? Wi-Fi?
So I pay right now. I'm using Claro. My internet service is Claro and CLARO,
Hmm.
and I'm 600 megabits down, and I pay 25 a month on that. Water and gas are incredibly almost non-factor cheap,
Okay.
like a few dollars, man. So, you know,
10
water
bucks a
can get up
piece
there.
or maybe 20
Gas
bucks
is
a
going to be less than that. Water, I've never had water over 10.
Then what do you pay for a cell phone out there?
Cell phone, I still have my plan from home,
Okay.
but so I have, well, okay, I do have, so I have an iPhone that has the option. It's a newer iPhone, so I can have a digital SIM as well.
Yes.
So my digital SIM is from a local, it's from Movie Star,
Okay.
here. So I do have a local number, and it's rechargeable. So like, I think I put maybe $3 a month into that just to keep it going,
Okay.
and I use that for data, and local calling and things.
All right. Well, how about groceries? What do people pay per month for groceries?
This is why it's tough because it depends on your. I hate to give this answer, so I'll give the answer, but also give detail. But the answer of, well, it depends on your lifestyle. So I would say, like, for me, I like to cook at home, but I'm cooking, like, I'll cook steak and chicken. I probably spend maybe anywhere from 300. This would be crazy, but like 300 to 500 a
Okay.
month.
Is that normal pricing, do you think, for
No,
individuals?
I rarely eat out, you know, like compared to back home. I probably do maybe once a week. I might
Okay.
order like a fast food service or something
Yeah.
once a week. Back home, that was like every freaking day, multiple times a day.
How much do you
Yeah,
budget for eating out, going out to these like restaurants or, having it delivered? How much do you think you
I
spend on that?
just, man, I wish I had a better answer for you. I'm just like, I don't really have a budget for going out because I don't do it that much.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
used to go out a lot, but um, I just, I don't know. I guess because having my girlfriend here, and my local friends, we're always doing a lot of local activities and local things where it involves cooking a lot for yourself. Okay, so if you're gonna eat out right now, let's say you go to like the Chili's of a restaurant. So it's not going to be like a Norton or Morton, like a high end steakhouse,
Hmm.
but like a Chili's, Applebee's. Like, it's a good restaurant, but it's not like the freaking Michelin star.
Hmm.
That right now is probably going to cost anywhere from like 10 to 15, 10 to $20 a person.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive into entertainment. What do people do for fun? What are the things to do around Mendoza?
Now that I can definitely get into. So of course, this is wine country. There's over 1,300 wineries, and they're everywhere. So a lot of people, especially if they're new to the area, they're going to be going to wineries a lot, um, wine tastings and wine events, and
Hmm.
it's cool because a lot of wineries will have events, they'll have DJs, um, and it's just it kind of fosters an environment where you can meet other people as well. And so there's a lot of community events, and the wineries are kind of heavily involved in things. And there's a lot of arts and crafts festivals around town. Those are always happening. Um, but you're in the foothills of the Andes Mountains, so trekking and hiking is a big deal. And they have a reservoir lake, um, a that's a collection of like snow melt from the Andes Mountains that they use for various purposes. And it's kind of tucked. It's like about 45 minutes up into the mountains. From my apartment, I can get there in about 45 minutes.
Okay.
So gorgeous. It's called Potre Rios. Potre Rios.
How do you spell
And
that?
okay, so here it is. Potre, and then Rillos.
Yeah.
It's a lake, it's a big reservoir, but because a lot of that because you got the mineral, now I'm kind of guessing, but it's a beautiful deep green blue color. It's incredibly beautiful, and there's the way you access it is through a tunnel that's carved. So that one of the main routes into the Andes, they had to carve tunnels, right? Like you would see in other parts in the world. All of a sudden, you're in this tunnel. And then all of a sudden, when you exit the tunnel, it's just this gorgeous view of this reservoir.
Hmm.
And so you'll see a lot of travel channels and Instagram and social media people like that filming this moment when it finally appears in front of you. Um, it's an amazing place to visit. It's so beautiful, and people do asados there, like their form of barbecue, and
Hmm.
um, it's a vast area to explore.
Getting back to wineries, do they charge to go for the wine tastings? And if they do, how much is it?
Maybe $30. I don't. It just depends, man. We'll have to do some
Yeah.
research on this.
Okay.
I did a wine tasting a few months ago, and I paid $75,
Wow.
but it was with food and the whole shebang, wine
I
tour.
see.
It was a 4 hour deal. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than what it's going to cost anywhere else. So it's still like a bottle of a top quality Malbec wine here is just so cheap compared to what you're going to find back home or in
Hmm.
Europe. So I would imagine that's the case for the actual wine tastings as well. Now, I feel that the prices have gone up because so much tourism hit this place over the past couple of years that they kind of took advantage of that.
Hmm.
Um, but still, it depends on if you're wanting food or not, if you're just doing the wine tasting.
Let's dive into transportation, getting around in Mendoza. Is it a walking friendly city?
Yeah, I would say 100%.
Okay.
Everything is around the corner, and it's just the way their lifestyle and infrastructure is designed. Yeah, I mean, right in front of my apartment, I've got a hardware store. Um, 50 feet down from the hardware store is where I buy my fruits and vegetables. Um, there's a butcher shop around the corner. There's a mini market around the corner.
Yeah.
There's a pharmacy 2 blocks down. I mean, that's just how it is. You walk to get everything, man. That's the way it's designed, and I freaking love it.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I love it is because you get to know them over time, and you're
Hmm.
just like catching up and how you been, man? And
Yeah.
it's cool to be a part of that culture. It's just a cool kind of human connection that seems to kind of be lacking and the way we do things, So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's very walkable. You're walking, you're taking. There's the bus system here is incredibly easy to use and efficient and cheap. So what I suggest is you get the what's called a sube card, SUBE, for like 1,000 pesos, like $1, and you just throw some money into it. You can go to a kiosk and you can like recharge it. Um, and the buses are going nonstop everywhere, so it's so easy to get around. You can walk anywhere, but let's say you want to go to the main park or you want to go to a certain plaza or go to like a place where there's some shopping, but you don't want to pay the Uber all the time, and you don't really want to buy a car.
Hmm.
You can learn how to use the bus. It's incredibly simple, easy, fast,
Hmm.
and very, very cheap.
How much is a bus
So,
ride?
right now, like, would that be 25 cents?
Hmm.
Around 25 cents, I think.
Per ride.
Yeah.
How about Ubers? What do they charge?
Uber is going to be anywhere between 350 and $8.
Okay.
Um, Average distance that I've ever spent. I mean, our average price for me based on the average distance is probably, I would say, $5.
Okay. All right, great. You mentioned earlier that you lived in a really nice area of Mendoza, and some of these places, some of the neighborhoods are really super nice. But is there a safety concern? I mean, people are always interested in, okay, so if I want to live like a local in some of these other neighborhoods where I can find a nice apartment, but it may not be as quote unquote like safe as what Joe was talking about over here. I mean,
Yeah.
is there anything to be concerned about when moving to Mendoza as far as like safety?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, Most of the areas that you go to, you'll see that there's burglar bars everywhere and there's razor wire on their fences because burglary is just really really common here,
Okay.
and it's also because there's a lot of desperation. Now, violence is not common,
Yeah.
so randomly getting randomly getting the crap beaten out of you, it's not common. Or,
Mhm.
killings and that, like the ultra violence, that's not common. But, just petty theft is a purse snatcher, maybe robbing a house. Um, I was robbed once while I was sleeping,
Oh, wow.
I never thought that was even possible. And they entered, I was staying at a friend's house, at a friend's apartment. And we left accidentally, the latch to one of the windows was left open, and they had kind of scaled through. And that's kind of the way it's known. It's like they're like monkeys, man. Like no one understands how they do it, but they snuck in. The only thing they stole was my wallet that I had left on the table.
Oh, I see.
And a lot of times they'll just steal a wallet and they'll take whatever's in it and just dump it right there on the floor, or they'll dump the wallet in the street, because they don't give a damn about your identity. They don't give a damn about anything else. They just want some quick money,
Yeah,
right? So
sure.
as far as like violence, no, dude, like you're good.
No, that's great information. I
You know,
appreciate that. Before we dive into the last thing, which is healthcare, I'm curious to know because people are you're living down there now. You left Texas. You call Argentina your home. People are always so how is he making a living? What does he do for work?
yeah. So first, like, this is my new, I would say, like home base, because in the next few months I'll be returning to Texas. So I created a weight loss company, and I'm working on creating a community of people that I'm in a community for people that want to either reclaim their health or their life, or that people have just who have felt stagnant for so many years, and that they just live this boring or mundane life on repeat, and they know that there's more out there. And I want to help facilitate that. So I learned so much through the process of moving here and immersing myself with the culture, that I believe there's so much growth and there's so much connection waiting for people. And I know that I can do it. And I know that I'm great with people. I'm very outgoing, and it's fun for me, man. So I created a weight loss business, number one, because I was obese for over 10 years, and I completely changed my life around.
Hmm.
And for a variety of reasons, um, I wanted to create the business. And so I did. So I help clients back home to totally transform and lose the weight and regain confidence and believe in themselves again. Um, and then we kind of do the deep work or I'll do the deep work with them, where we kind of tackle some of the reasons that led them to being supremely overweight or obese to begin with. Um, and so that's how I earn my living. And then the
Okay.
second thing is I'm working on now is creating a community again, where people can kind of enter and re just transform their freaking life through travel, and coming down here possibly, where I will be having retreats throughout the year, where there'll be it's like a week long workshop where there's hiking and trekking, cultural immersion, um, and it's about kind of self discovery, but also doing some deep work and kind of having a little micro community of people who are doing it alongside you, with the concept of like maybe at the end you've made some friends from
Hmm.
around the world. It's a way to kind of it's a way to build connection in a time where I feel like we lack true connection more than ever before.
Sounds like you're
You
the
know?
real deal. Like if you look great and you're obviously and physically very good condition. So if you were obese before, you have a story to share and help people.
Man, yeah,
So that's pretty
it's
cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, the last thing is healthcare. For the expats, retirees that are considering Argentina, how can they access the healthcare? Is it a quality healthcare? Is it affordable?
So I would say affordable, yes. In some areas the quality is not totally lacking, but in some areas it is. Other than that, I'm not familiar. I've always just paid what they called um, particular, and that just means what would we call that? Out of pocket, I
Yeah.
suppose,
Yeah. Okay.
because it was just like there are public facilities where you can get free healthcare. I just didn't want to do that, man. Like I could go to a doctor for, I don't know what it is now. It's been a while, but like a year ago, I injured my tailbone running in the mountains. And I think I paid like $8 out of pocket. I'm like, dude, I'm not
Wow.
gonna get free healthcare, and it's $8. I should pay the $8. Like leave the
Sure.
free to someone else who really, really needs it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what the cost would be now, but I can't imagine it's just a hell of a lot more.
Hmm.
Obviously, dental work's a hell of a lot cheaper. People come down here just to get dental work and then go back home. There was a guy, he used to live here actually. He's from Florida, and the only reason why he ever comes back is just to get dental work done. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously he pays out of pocket,
Yeah.
but it's a hell of a lot cheaper than back home,
Hmm.
So I would say you're pretty well taken care of. I
Okay.
mean, if you have a specific cardiologist or certain doctors that know you very well, that's hard to replace. But you're not. It's not like you're entering just some hell zone that just with just horrible quality healthcare. I mean, you're going to get taken care of, but
Yeah.
it might be better. Some other countries are probably going to have it better. Some European countries are going to have a higher quality, but here, quality meets affordability, and it seems to be working for most people.
Yeah. And can expats access the public health care, which is free?
As far as I'm aware, yes, but I think there's some laws changing right now. So I would tell your audience, like when this video is published, double check that.
All right. Well, Joe, that is everything. Is there anything else you can think of that we didn't discuss that could help the viewers watching? I've been thinking potentially about moving to Argentina.
My advice is to find a home base for you that you believe is going to match the lifestyle that you want, man.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's what it's all about. So,
Yep.
and then last but not least, I just wanted to add, like in Mendoza, it's it's kind of a place where you're tucked in the foothills of the mountains. Of course, you've got that beautiful reservoir. If you go a couple more hours deep into the mountains, they have the tallest mountain in the world outside of the Himalayas called Aconcagua. So there's a
Hmm.
lot of people that summit that. It's a big deal here. There's a big
Yeah.
climbing community here. Um, you've got your wineries, you've got the foothills of the Andes, and then you've got plazas and parks everywhere. So I would say it's a pretty cool place, pretty cool, chill place to live, um, to call home or like a home base if that's what you want,
Yeah.
from which you can then travel to Buenos Aires or Cordoba or Chile or Peru or whatever,
Hmm.
So
All right. Well, Joe.Dry, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out to share all this information about this beautiful country, Argentina. I appreciate it.
rock on, man. It's been fun. We should do
Yeah.
this again.
Okay. We will. All right. Take care, bud.
Okay, you too.